Hi, guys. So I woke up today with this really crazy desire to share something that I have never really felt comfortable with sharing. The way that it was presented to me was kind of like I had a near death experience so that all of you don't have to. There were two really important concepts that I caught on to very quickly after this near death experience, and those two concepts are detachment and presence. Detachment with money, detachment with relationships. And I'm not here to brag or anything, but once I detached from financial situations, I had a $15,000 month. And before I even go off into talking about those two things, I'll go ahead and describe my near death experience so that you guys can get a feel for everything. In 2020, I was assaulted by strangulation. This experience not only was just a near death experience, but it also left me partially blind for 2.5 years. It was very unexpected. I was basically snake attacked, kind of swooped up by my neck from behind and slammed on my face repetitively. The room was pitch black, but I remember seeing like a light on the computer go up and down and up and down. So to me, that's all that I thought happened. I thought maybe it was going on for like 10 minutes, you know. A lot had went on while I was unconscious. My downstairs neighbors are who came and broke everything up and basically saved my life. They said that they could hear thudding and tussling through their balcony for about 2 hours. They didn't come and knock on the door until they heard me say help. They said they could hear me gasping for air and say help. So at that point, they came and knocked on the door, and all I remember was being swooped up, seeing the light on the computer go up and down, and then hearing that knock on the door. And whatever in me woke up like a freaking track runner and sprinted to the door and swung the door open. After talking with the neighbors who came and saved me, and with the police, and finding out all the information, I became aware that it was a lot more than 10 minutes. Like I said, it was about 2 hours of assault. During that time, there were two people contacted that are important to me, one by the person who assaulted me and the other by apparently myself. When everything kind of popped off, the person who assaulted me had taken my phone and FaceTime someone to kind of like make fun of me. And I came in the room and was like, hey, stop, give me my phone. And that was whenever he did whatever to pick me up and start body slamming me like that. While that was going on, the person that he had FaceTimed remained on the phone. We hadn't talked about it until this year, which ironically enough, I'm having the urge to talk about this now, and it would have happened 6 years ago this month, maybe even this week. I'm not totally sure because I had a lot of short term memory loss after this, but we'll get there. Somewhere in there, apparently, somehow in a pitch black room, I found my phone and called my mom. She said that she answered, and the room was just black and she was normal, like, what's up, baby cakes? And that I kind of whispered and kind of laughed and said, I can't breathe. And then there was a rumble and a tussle, and the phone hung up. The concept of it occurring for 2 hours really mostly came from my downstairs neighbors telling me that they were listening and observing for about 2 hours before they stepped in. 2 hours is a really long time. There was no reason that that person shouldn't have been able to finish the job in 2 hours. Regardless, by the grace of God, I'm here today. And throughout that 2.5 years, I was being told that the condition was progressive and that I was going to eventually be fully blind and that it would be permanent, not really anything I could do. After, being in shock and everything for a few days and really having to accept what had happened, seeing that my face was all beat up and that my vision was messed up and I couldn't describe the type of messed up it was to anyone because it was crazy. I just kind of, accepted the things that I couldn't change. I accepted what happened and I accepted that I may be going blind now. And rather than hyperfixating on those two things that I just couldn't even make any better, I chose to actually just detach from it all and to focus more on the universe, God, the divine, whatever term you like to use. It just felt better at that time after I, was settling down. I just was waking up more calm in the knowing that I didn't have to take anything that happened personal because it's not. Everything that everybody does is only them. That person was throwing an actual fit tantrum or doing whatever else for whatever other reasons. With a small woman, I'm 5'1". I weigh 125 now, but back then I weighed like 112. And it just made it really easy for me to kind of laugh it off. Anytime I had intrusive negative thoughts or fearful thoughts, I reminded myself, to laugh, to stay light, and that I am safe. Because truly, 2 hours, like I said, is enough for that person to have been able to finish the job. And by the grace of God, they did not. And I'm here and I'm doing amazing. I'm feeling amazing. So, without detachment, though, I wouldn't have been able to even heal through that. Without detachment, I wouldn't have been able to accept that I may be going blind. Attaching to the idea that I may have been going blind is what would have made me actually go blind. And I'm here today seeing more clearly than ever. But I understand that me being able to give it to God and detach was the only way to make space for a change, for healing, for a miracle. Does that make sense? It wasn't even just with the big negative things like that. It was even with small things in my life. It took a little more than 2 years for my vision to start improving. So I was just really living on faith. And I was really understanding that if God got me out of that situation alive, God intends to keep having my back forever. So there was no need to attach. There was no need to worry about what would happen and when it would happen and how I could maybe prevent it or how much I could pay and save and get around it and get out of my fate. No, I detached and I understood that it wasn't personal, that that person did that to me and that I didn't deserve to deal with the consequences. And I just remained hopeful. And that was kind of hard sometimes, or I guess trialing, because it would be hard to be hopeful when I would realize, like I said, that I had short term memory loss for years. It's much better now, but for about 4 years, all the short term would just go. And everyone in my life thought that I just didn't care about them and was ignoring them or didn't want to text them back. It wasn't like that. It wasn't personal. But because I was so tapped into the importance of detachment from anything external, I was able to not feed into people begging me to prove to them that I wasn't upset with them because I didn't text them back. I didn't have to or deserve to be explaining to people that I had short term memory loss. That's not something that you just have to disclose with people. And I really did just stop kind of talking for a while as well because I was so detached that I realized everything everybody's had going had nothing to do with me. And that sometimes I'm just talking and engaging and experiencing and being experienced because I want people to know that there's no problem between us because I value them. You don't have to overextend yourself to make other people have peace of mind or feel calm or know that everything's okay between you. You don't have to prove that. The harsh truth is that people would only think something's wrong if you're talking less because they did something wrong and they're wondering if you found out. Other than that, nobody should have a problem with you reserving your energy for yourself. You don't have to make people feel okay, make them feel good, make them feel safe, make them feel like you think about them. All of your making and creative energy belongs to you alone. It is your currency in the world, it is your power source. It's not something that anybody's ever owed. And if you feel that way and you treat it as such, that's a self imposed prison because nobody ever told you that. But anyway, I'll get off your ass there. Detachment, like I said, it really became inevitable for me once I settled down after that week of shock or so. I was just always trying to ignore and avoid putting my awareness on my impaired vision. It was very easy for me to understand like it was going to be a battle there, or I could literally just detach, and detachment became effortless in all areas of my life, and money was just flowing into my bank account. The very next month after being assaulted, love was just knocking on my door, the perfect love to some. Detaching gave me everything I wanted to help me have healthy distractions and better things to spend my time on. And not only were they just glamorous and good, like on a shallow surface level way of being like expensive things or whatever. No, they were things that truly made me feel like I could just be quiet and everything would work out well. I didn't have to make and do and speak and talk and entertain. I could just be quiet and enjoy what was all the time. I really, really value the lesson that the near death experience taught me on the importance of detachment and why we detach. We detach because we're not here to attach to anything in the 3D. We need to prioritize detachment because that is the only way that we can stay present and experience life to the fullest. And that's why we're here. We're here as humans, as a part of the collective whole that has been broken up into pieces to go experience life. And not just to experience life, but to be put through phases and cycles like a washing machine and get better, get clean, become a stronger link, so that after we have been strengthened and fine tuned and given exams to prove what we've learned and how much better we are, the life is over and we return to the collective consciousness, the whole. But now we are a super strong link